Danny Gaffon for Pro Boxing fans, delighted to be joined all the way from Dubai by Chris Eubank Jr, manager. Napper, looks lovely where you are, enjoying some well-deserved rest and recovery.
Yeah, I actually live out here. I live in Dubai. So
Amazing.
Chris does as well. So came to UK to do the camp. He'll be back over here soon, but I got straight back. The weather's too good not to be back home.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, for
weird to
sure.
call Dubai home now. So strange.
How
Yeah.
does it feel, first of all? Because, I mean, even from the media side of things, it feels like Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn's engulfed the last few months. I'm sure for yourself that's been even amplified. How does it feel that this is actually done, this mega fight, it's done and dusted, it's past us?
Yeah, it's crazy. It was October 2022 when the first fight was supposed to happen, and then it fell through. So, ever since then, we were going back and forth, and the media non-stop been talking about whether this fight will ever happen again and the rest of it. So you're talking about 2.5 years later, finally getting it over the line, finally giving the British public the fight they wanted to see, and the fight delivered. You know, a lot of people were saying maybe it might be a mismatch, or like some people because they thought like Chris might be depleted. Some people thought because Conor Benn might be a bit too small. But in the end, it was a fight that I don't think anyone's going to forget anytime soon.
Absolutely not. Just before we come on to the fight, just very quickly, how is Chris? I saw he was in hospital for a couple of days. Believe he was released on Monday morning. Everything good with Chris?
He was out a bit earlier than that, but yeah, he's perfectly fine. It was just a bit of dehydration. He hasn't got any injuries and the rest of it. He's already talking about the next fight.
Amazing. I'll ask about the next fight in just a sec, but just want to know what was going through your mind during those 12 rounds, Napper. It was one of the best fights certainly I've ever seen. That's a sentiment a lot of people
Yeah,
are sharing online. It was a back and forth fight that I think most people had Chris, up throughout the fight and, a
yeah.
well worth in the eyes of most pundits. But what was going through your head as someone who manages Chris, who's someone been so close to Chris during a grueling
Yeah.
fight?
Yeah, I just thought to myself, I had it in my head that Chris should try and take Conor Ben out in the mid rounds, but Conor didn't slow down to what I thought it would happen. He was a lot fitter than what I had in my head. And then Conor had some good rounds. I can't remember if it was 8 or 9 or around that part. So I thought to myself, all right, cool, we need to switch on here. But then Chris closed out the show like a true champion. He threw over 100 punches in round 10, 11, and 12. 122 punches he threw in round 12 for middleweight. I've asked Spencer Fraven and all these Mr. Knowledge guys, like, can you find if any middleweight has thrown more punches than this before? Maybe Kawasaki. I'm waiting for them to come back to me. That no one knows yet. It was unbelievable performance, especially from someone that had all the weight clauses and the rest of them on him. He's a true Eubank. He's a true warrior, people's champion. Yeah, he turned up. But yeah, it was it was a fight I ain't gonna forget anytime soon.
You mentioned the weight and the rehydration clause there, Napper. Just how much of a struggle was that for Chris? We saw the clips he posted on social media of the process he went through to make the weight.
Yeah,
Now, I've actually
yeah.
just watched an interview with Eddie Hearn, and he was saying that the rehydration clause won't have had an effect on Chris, and the only reason the 160 was so tight for him was he got his timings wrong. And to me, it sounded like trying to play down how depleted Chris maybe was. So I'm just wondering if you can give some insight into those last sort of hours of the weight cut and what that takes out of a fighter like Chris.
Eddie Hearn is a top promoter. He knows what to say to make his fighters sound good. If I was, he's very good at his job, so he's not going to say anything to downplay Conor Ben and to give Eubank shine. He's doing what he's supposed to do and saying what he's supposed to say as Conor Ben's promoter. But the truth of the matter is, like, I think you can ask any fighter, say, is it easy to make weight? I don't think any fighter is going to tell you it's easy to make weight. If you go to any fighter's bedroom with KFC the night before the weigh-in, they're going to tell you to F off. No one, like, everyone struggles to make weight to an extent. Obviously, some people more than others. It was more like with the rehydration. Well, actually, on the point of the weight as well, there was like some misunderstandings with the timing. So normally, if you don't make the weight, Chris was 160.2. Yeah, so point two is not much to lose. So normally you'd get an hour to make the weight, which Chris could have just gone to the bathroom or just walk for 20 minutes. But because Conor Benn had weighed in an hour earlier, I guess Team Ben were going off the time. Our estimated time, we said we're going to get there the day before. So he's already weighed in. So then according to that time, we only had like 4. Well, we got told you got 4 minutes to lose 0.2. So Chris only had 2 minutes on a treadmill. That's why he came back at 160.05. So normally, like, it's not an issue for Chris to make weight. There was just a misunderstanding. Who's at fault and the rest of it. We haven't really sit down to point a finger at who the main person is. It's an expensive penalty, of course, but it is what it is. But it's more, see, with the rehydration, yeah, it's like knowing that you can only put on 10 pounds, you can't really like get a big black bottle like this and just gulp it freely. You're a little bit like, all right, let me drink a bit and see where my weight's at. Let me eat a bit and see where my weight's at. So he's not obviously rehydrating like he would normally do, like he did for Liam Smith too, and the rest of it. He's not. He doesn't have the mindset. He's more like watching and make sure weight's not going up too much. So all of that means that come fight night, he hasn't rehydrated like he could have. He could have maybe just done as he pleased, and the weight may not have exceeded. But because in the back of your mind, right, I can't. It then doesn't allow you to eat and drink as you like. So yeah, I think that was the main thing. That's why he had to go to hospital to rehydrate himself properly. It wasn't any, he was getting punched and he was shouting back to Conor Benn weak. It wasn't the, it wasn't the, not like Conor Benn's explosive and fast and stuff. Obviously, Chris is a tough guy, but it wasn't the fight. It was more the hydration.
I got you. I got you. Now, but just want to ask a couple of questions about the fight night itself before the fight. Firstly, the arrival of Chris Eubank Sr. I've never
Yeah,
seen anything like that. The reception was amazing. I think not that the fight needed it, but it sort of took it to a new trajectory in terms of the eyeballs on it, the impressions on social media. When did
yeah.
you get the impression that Senior might be coming? My colleague Jonathan spoke to Johnny Nelson, and he was saying he had spoke to Senior for an hour in the day, and maybe then there were some clues he might be a rival. There's been talks of Turkey Al Sheikh getting involved. What's your version of events on that, or what can you
I
shed the light
think
on it?
I think a multiple people had a little input on getting that over the line, but I knew about it on the day. I knew that was happening on the day. So, and I knew that I couldn't really talk about it or tell anyone. Loads of my close friends were like really close friends were asking me, and I weren't telling them. I said, "Nah, Cena's not coming." So because although they're your close friend, you don't know if they're gonna tell their other one close friend, the person's
Yeah.
gonna tell their other one close friend. Then it leaks. And then loads of people know about it, and then the person will be like, "I ain't really told anyone," knowing that they've already told one person, but 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 all adds up. So yeah, I knew. So I just knew. Let me just keep my lips sealed, and let's see how the reaction is going to be when he turned up. And yeah, we saw everyone went crazy. I think it's the first time I've been part of an event, and I wish I was watching it at home because the suspense must have been like crazy. Like like seeing that on TV is like WWE, just like Stone Cold or The Rock appearing out of the blue and the rest of it. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah, it was. How much of a lift did it give Chris?
Oh, big time. He had a glow and smile on his face that I hadn't seen all camp. So it's his dad at the end of the day. So it made a massive difference. And I was just looking at him warming up and the rest of it, and I just knew that I knew he was gonna win anyway, but obviously anything can happen in a fight. But I knew for sure we're winning this time, just by the way he looked in the dressing room.
Yeah, I can imagine. The other incident that directly involved yourself was the attempt from Billy Joe Saunders to get into Chris's
Yeah,
dressing room to inspect the hands being wrapped.
yeah.
This was something that it emerged on the Friday, I believe, that Conor was going to send Billy in basically as a mind game to rattle Chris. Now we saw the clip. You let Billy know in no uncertain terms he wouldn't be getting in, and he didn't. What was your version of events on that, and why were you? I mean, silly question maybe, but why were you so adamant that Billy Joe Saunders
Yeah,
obviously they fought Chris? They've never been the best of
yeah.
friends. I wasn't coming into the changing room.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, as part of Team Eubank, I need to make sure um, that I'm doing everything I can to help my fighter prepare as well as he can. There's three of us that look after Chris, so we all have individual roles. And I took it upon myself to say, right, this whole Billy Joe Saunders thing, which was a fantastic idea. If I was Team Ben, I probably would have been like all for it. But like, yeah, this is perfect. Billy Joe, when he goes into the dressing room, it will disturb him. But unfortunately for them, Eubank has someone by his side that is 6'5", 20 stones, ain't got much fat on me, and it's not going to allow Billy Joe Saunders into the dressing room, regardless if Eddie Hearn or Frank Smith pull me aside and say, come on for the views, regardless if Ben Shalom asks, and regardless of whoever tried to ask, I would just like, no, it's not fun and games. It's not a joke. We don't get on with Billy Joe Saunders. So he ain't coming into the dressing room at all. No way.
Yeah, it got pretty heated between yourself and Billy Joe. Some of the comments he made towards you, I mean, I've seen previous interviews with you where you didn't hear them, were perceived as sort of racially motivated.
Yeah.
Why does it escalate to that stage with Billy Joe, do you think?
I guess he knew that once he can tell I wasn't joking. I said, when I told him, I guarantee you're not going to get in, he can clearly see that there is no chance of getting in. He must have just got frustrated and annoyed. And then he reverted to type and start being a bit racist. I didn't hear that stuff because me and him were talking at the same time. So I didn't hear it, which is a good thing because, no one takes racist remarks nicely. So it's a bit disappointing from a ex-world champion. I mean, he won the world title in Stevenage football ground against someone that I don't remember, but he's still a world champion. Uh, I'm pretty. Do you remember who he beat for the world title?
I think he was a fella called Shafat Asuye, I think was his name.
Where's this guy today?
I don't know, but just because I know, mate, that's probably because I need to probably get outside more, to be
Yes, I
honest.
mean, he fought in Stevenage football ground. Chris fought in Tottenham football stadium. There's levels. The guys, he's a he's a very interesting character. Says a lot of stuff that he does not mean. Like he wants to have a fight with me, which is pathetic. And he does not want to have a fight with me. He saw me a week before alone. He was with a friend. The energy was completely different. He even told me Chris was going to win within 5 rounds. We were even staying in the same hotel, ironically, for on Easter weekend. Me and Billy Joe were in the same hotel. Gone past each other multiple times. No talk of whatever. No bad energy and the rest of it. He was actually being pretty cool. And then you want to walk to the Eubanks dressing room with a whole bunch of cameras and this and that and the rest of it. Listen, as I said many times before, there was no way verbally or physically he can get into the dressing room. He didn't like it, so he wanted to say some stuff in the camera to make himself feel a bit better. It is what it is. What that guy needs to do is that big belly that he was poking me with, and them bitch tits that I noticed through his Mexican t-shirt. He needs to get rid of both of them, get in shape, and get in the ring with Eubank. Although I don't like him, he can get a little payday and get beat up.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing for sure, the build up to that would be very entertaining. That's what I want to finish up on that,
Very.
Bruce. Just what's going to be next for Chris? This we know the rematch is contractually stipulated, but sort of eyebrows were raised. I think it was revealed by Eddie when he said the terms for the rematch are the same as the first fight, the 160, the rehydration. I know it's very early days. What are your thoughts as Chris's manager on a potential rematch with Conor Benn, and would you be willing
No.
to go through the same terms
Terms,
again?
terms, terms TBC because of a few things that I can't say, but the terms will need to be negotiated. And but Chris has made it very clear to me that this is the fight that he wants. This is the fight that he wants, and he's ready to rock and roll and do it again. But we haven't spoke. I've only spoke to him like on the phone for a few minutes, so we haven't spoke about the weight, the rehydration, and the rest of it. Because um, I didn't want to bore him with uh, like it's for him it's work, isn't it? All of this type of stuff. We've been talking about this stuff for like since January, February, so it's downtime at the moment. But he Conor Bennett's a fight he wants again next for sure.
Would you be happy with the proposed sort of late September, early October date? Given how tough a fight it was.
Um, I didn't ask him. Potentially, it means that the both of them can have around 8 weeks off and then go into camp.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't know how far. How far is that? Now we're in the beginning of May,
like
so
five
yeah, you can
months.
probably have 5 months. Yeah, they can have like yeah. They'll probably work.
All right,
It
nice.
probably work.
And
But listen, I'm not the one. I'm not the one that took the punches. It's Chris and Connor. I don't know if anything's wrong with Connor's rib or Chris's rib or the rest of it. He he said he ain't got no injuries. He was just a bit dehydrated. He's out and about, moving around London. Um, he was out for dinner last night, so he seems pretty okay. So September seems like it'll be all right.
and last one, Napper, and I'll let you go. A name that's been linked to Chris over the past couple of years on off is Canelo Alvarez. Now, I saw an interview with Canelo on Seconds Out. Got a fight of his own this weekend, so he emphasised his focus was fully on that. But he said he watched the fight, he loved the fight, he was really impressed with Chris, and he'd welcome a fight with Chris in the future, be open to it at 168 pounds. Now, if this rematch is to be September, October, we know Canelo, if he does get past Skull, has got Terence Crawford waiting for September. The dates could align perfectly, maybe, for a fight between Chris and Canelo in 2026.
Yeah, if they both fight in September and in 2026 they can rock and roll, that would be fantastic. Would be ideal. I think a name like Canelo is the type of name that will Chris gets up for. So yeah, it's a fight he definitely wants. We're talking about every single fight, every single belt in the 168. So undisputed title fight. Why not? Let's rock and roll. They'll fill out a stadium, no problem as well.
Yeah, easy. And just to wrap up, Napper, do you feel like Chris is finally getting the love now at 35, 36 years of age from the British public? I mean, just on a personal anecdote, I was getting texts from friends who are like casual sports fans who don't watch the boxing, who would have always seen Eubank as like the sort of pantomime villain, like, oh, mate, that heart from Eubank, unbelievable. The response
Yeah.
has been positive towards him in social media. Do you feel like now Chris is finally, he's been the heel for so long in a wrestling term. He's now sort of the baby face. People are finally starting to warm to him and give him that love.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, COVID affected him bad. He became inactive in COVID. He went over to PBC in his late 20s and, you know, was chasing a fight with Charlo, and he became inactive over there. And COVID happened and the rest of it. So let's say, like, the previous 5 to 7 years, he hasn't really had the fights and stuff that he wanted since James DeGale. So yeah, you know, he's finally getting the props that he deserves. He's always wanted to give the public a fight like he did yesterday. He's always wanted to have rock and roll. This was why, like, it makes more sense now. So when the Liam Smith one fight and Chris got up and was rushing over, like, to say to the referee, like, no, let's go. This is the whole point. Chris's thing is like, no, like, I can have a firefight. I can get dropped, get up and go and then put you down. Like, he's always wanted to show the public that I can give you a fight that's gonna make everyone like go crazy for, which is why he acted how he acted. Some people say, oh no, Chris, you're out on your feet. What, it was right to stop it. And he's like, no, like, you guys don't know me. I am like one tough guy. I am ready to go. If you put me down, I'm going to get up. I'm going to put you down. Just like his dad in the Michael Watson and Nigel Benn fights and stuff, He's ready to go back and forth with people. And he's happy to finally show everyone who he is, how he fights, and excited to give them some more big fights before he calls it a day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one thing's for sure, they will be big fights, especially if they're anything like what we saw this past weekend. Napper, really grateful for you giving me some of your time. I'll let you get on. Looks like you've got plenty more enjoyable things to be doing over there. Top man.
Yeah, we're announcing a new signing. I'm gonna post on Instagram today. So we've signed someone in the 147th division at Nova Sports. Going to be part of Team Eubank. So yeah, look out for that announcement in a few
All right. Any,
hours.
any clues?
Um, he's he um he lives in Las Vegas.
All right. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, He lives in Las
We look forward.
Vegas.
Keep our eyes
Yeah.
peeled. Napper, I'll let you go. Thanks very much.
All right. Peace.